The mission is about, I don't know, I've been back almost 5 years, so the mission is just over 30 years old now. Like 32, 33, I think. The boundaries have changed since I served there, but if I remember correctly, while I was serving there were about 17 different countries and islands involved. I'll just list off a few, like the French islands like Guadeloupe, St. Martin, Martinique, and then you have like English islands like Trinidad, Tobago, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, stuff like that. And then there are 3 countries in South America that we serve in. There's Guyana, which is the biggest area in the mission, and then Suriname, which is the Dutch area, and then French Guyana. So, very big mission, very wide boundaries. And I know they've changed a little, like I said, since I've been there. So I know now we have Barbados in the mission, which we didn't have while I was serving there. I remember our mission president was trying to get Curaçao in our mission, which is a Dutch island. So I haven't checked recently, so I don't know if that actually worked out. But yeah, it's a very large mission, wide area. I actually moved around a lot more than I was thinking, because I was thinking, since it's such a big mission that we would stay put in our areas more, but I actually ended up serving in a big part of the mission, like going to different areas and different islands and things, which I felt was a really cool experience for me, because I got to see, like even from island to island, the culture is really, really different. And as far as like languages go, you've got the main languages that the mission's divided up in. English is the biggest. Then there's the French islands, which is, I don't know, about a third or a quarter the size of the English part of the mission. And then the Dutch side is even smaller, because we've only got Suriname for the Dutch side. So that's interesting. And those are the main languages, but even within that, there are several different dialects. Like you could go from one island to the next, and like every island has their own little dialect of Creole, since it's the Caribbean. But like if you served in Guadeloupe, you speak Guadeloupean Creole. If you go to Martinique, they have a slight difference, like with the dialect of Creole with Martinique's version of Creole, and then you go to the English islands and they speak Patois, which is another Creole, and we have a lot of Haitians within the mission, so lots of different dialects of that. And then you also have, I didn't serve in Suriname, but I served with an elder that served there. And within Suriname, there are so many different languages. Like the elder I served with, he knew of like just 7 that he knew like bits and pieces of. So there's Dutch, which is mainly spoken in the capital, and then Suriname-Tongo, which is the main Surinamese language, and then just different dialects within like the different tribes there. So yeah, lots and lots of different languages. The English that is spoken there is very different from what we would hear here in the U.S. Like Trinidad, I remember like first getting there, it was really hard to understand people. And then you go to Guyana, and it's very, very different. Very, I would say broken English, but it's just very, very different. Like they use different words, like it's a different, just feel it's harder to understand just with the accent and everything. So yeah, language is a very big part of the culture there. So that was definitely interesting. The church has grown a lot, just, even since I've been gone, the church has grown a lot. But let's see, while I was serving there, they actually got their first stake in Trinidad. So, and that's changed like within the last few years too, like, because they lost some members, so it went back to just being a district instead of a stake. And so I think they've fixed that now to where it's a stake again, but mostly it's just different branches in the area. I think Trinidad is still the only place where there are wards. But the people there are, despite the church being small on a lot of the islands, especially like where I served on the French islands, it was fairly small in many of the places. Like there was one ward I served in where it was like a family and a couple of other members that made up the entire ward, or the entire branch. And then in some of the areas you have, like, closer to 50 members, and there are a lot of less actives and actives. So there's a lot of reactivation work that we started doing in the later parts of my mission while I was there. But yeah, the church has really grown a lot in there, especially in Guyana. The work really grew a lot. And they had a lot of different branches, a lot of different areas open up. And then, like I said, during the second half of my mission, we really tended to focus more on reactivation efforts, on retention, because we sadly started to see a lot of people that would fall away. So that's something they've been working on a lot in during the latter half of my mission and in recent years. As far as, like, on the French islands, what church was like, honestly, like I said, even though the branches are pretty small, the members there are very strong. Like, they are very strong in missionary work. They're, like, the organization is slightly different than what we would see here in Utah or in other places in the U.S., but they really care about each other, and they really care about spreading the gospel, and they're just really focused on being strong, even though the church hasn't grown a whole lot on the French Islands. The members there are really trying to help with the work, and they love the missionaries. So it's always a pleasure working with them, and they really help to emphasize member work there. There's a temple in Santo Domingo, which they go to usually, and that's the closest one in the area in the Caribbean. So it's they have to fly there, but they organize a temple trip at least once a year, usually twice, for members that want to go. And that's another thing that they're really focused on, is getting members who are temple ready to do that, because they understand the importance of getting your endowments and being sealed as families. And that's always such a fun experience to see a family that's gone to the temple for the first time, and just the joy that they have from that. So that's definitely something that they emphasize. Not all of the members can afford it, just because it is an expensive trip, and then they have to stay there for usually like a few days, a week. So it is expensive, but like, the leadership in the church really helps to help the members to, if they want to have that as a goal, to prepare for that and to have that be accessible to everyone who wants to do that. Something that's kind of interesting, there was my second mission president. He was actually a local member, President Gamiet, and he's a great guy. I loved serving with him. He was so much fun. But kind of a sad part of the history there is that his father and some of the previous church leadership had actually broken away from the church and begun their own sort of polygamous organization there. So some of the work was hindered a little bit by that, by members who still made that, or not members, by locals who still made that connection with the LDS Church. So thankfully, like, that wasn't a huge issue, because it had been several years after the fact. But there's still that connection, unfortunately. But the members have done a really good job of making the church a presence within the community. And like I said, they really love missionary work, so they definitely try and get out there and correct those misconceptions. I served in English Guyana, and that was actually a very interesting experience. I was only in English Guyana for about a month, and we were there because we had to be evacuated from the French side because of some civil unrest that was going on at the time. So we actually got to island hop for a little while before we finally got flights out to Guyana, and I served there for, like I said, just about a month, and it was really cool to see how the work was different there than on the French islands. And I never served in French Guiana myself, but from elders I know that have served there, it's again a very different experience than it would be serving on the islands or serving in English Guiana. So like I said, it's just very different just depending on where you are in the mission. But the church is definitely growing, and the members tend to be strong wherever you are in the mission.